We are live for a new episode of the Electrek podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I am joined by Seth Wintraub. How are you doing today, Seth?
Good.
All right. We don't have a sponsor on this week's episode, but I would like to squeeze in a little plug for the Electrek Formula Sun, which is the solar car race that's going to happen in Heartland Raceway in Topeka, Kansas, and it's starting next week now, right? The 27th to the 2nd, the 27th of June to the 2nd of July, and Electrek is going to be present. We're on the name. We are a title sponsor of the show. It's a bunch of student teams from a bunch of universities all around North America, and they have already produced an electric solar car prototype, and they're going to race it at this track for a global challenge, the solar race. So it's going to be very interesting. A bunch of engineering students are going to be the future of probably the electric automotive world, because a lot of companies recruit from those challenges. And it's a good opportunity to encourage the students and to just watch some cool technology that might make its way to the auto industry in the future, because it has in the past. That those challenges have been going on for a while. So from June 27th to July 2nd, if you are around Kansas, Topeka, Kansas, come check it out. All right,
you gonna make it?
Yeah, I haven't bought my tickets just yet. Like we're gonna have to talk about it after the show. See how it goes, because the plans haven't been finalized.
Yeah, but I'm gonna be out there on the 28th, and we're Aaron, our social media guy, is gonna be there, and hopefully we'll get some other people out there. Tesla is actually a co-sponsor, so.
Yeah, and we were
Tesla's
supposed to have Aptera too. We said Aptera is going to be there in the last few weeks. Unfortunately, last minute. So.
Yeah, Aptera wasn't able to make it, sadly. We don't really understand quite why, but maybe next year.
Yeah, they would have been a perfect partner for this.
Yeah.
It's right up their alley. All right, biggest news of the week. It's another person gets on board the NACS hype train, and that's Rivian. So it happened earlier this week. We've been talking about it a lot. But yeah, I mean, it's almost a copy pasted of the Ford and GM announcement, though a little bit more details maybe on the Rivian front. So in general, it's again planned to adopt NACS on Rivian vehicles starting in 2025. So the connector is going to be in the vehicle, but the goal is always to get access to the Supercharger network as soon as possible. So they said adapters in 2024, just like Ford and GM, though Rivian said spring 2024. So there's like a little bit more details here. A bit unfortunate though. 2024 sounds a bit late to me. Like it's almost a year to get an adapter going. But still, in the meantime, there's going to be the Rivian owners can access the CCS networks existing, including Rivian's own. So what is a bit different when Rivian is like, again, they have their own charging network using CCS, and they did say in the announcement that they plan to keep it going. Where is the actual announcement here? Oh, no,
yeah, and they're going to actually add NACS to their adapters in 2025.
To their R1 vehicles and R2 platform. But I was talking about the announcement for their Adventure network. Okay. Rivian says that although it's offering access to Tesla's expensive charging network in North America, it will continue to build its own Adventure network of chargers. Whether those Rivian pals will eventually support NACS in addition to okay, so it's not clear at this point.
If Rivian is making vehicles in 2025 with NACS, they're not going to make only CCS.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it makes no sense. But and there's already these connectors that are going to go both ways anyway. So
yeah,
you can have CCS. You can. It's not that big of a deal. It's a little bit more efficient. And that deal, it looks to me a bit like Tesla is kind of dangling the Supercharger network to get people to adopt NACS. They're like,
for sure.
Yeah, adopt NACS on your vehicles, and we're gonna give you, like, as soon as possible, we're gonna give you access to a Supercharger network, because it is a big deal. Like, one day you don't have access to 12,000 chargers in North America. arguably the best 12,000 chargers that we're going to go to.
I don't think it's arguable.
Yeah, you're right. I was just being cautious there.
Nobody's arguing.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody's arguing. And then the next day, boom. Well, it's not as much as a boom as you need to have those adapters. And so, but was there something about the adapter being free in the Rivian announcement too?
Yeah, they're giving them to customers for free.
Yeah, and existing ones too. So it's like a way to, like, if you buy a car now, like, you're not going to be left behind. I guess that's people's biggest concern.
Right.
All right. Speaking of Rivian, you had, well, we kind of announced it last week, but it became official this week, or today actually, or yesterday. Did you placed your order today?
Oh,
and yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so a couple things. One is Rivian gave me a R1S. We've been asking for a week review for a long time, and for whatever reason, it took them a really long time to get one. But we got one, and from a review standpoint, like, we're very late in the game. Like, there's been reviews. We had a review a year ago on it, and not much has changed. It's basically hardware is mostly the same. Software's seen some updates. But this kind of puts things into perspective right now. The CFO of Rivian got into a Deutsche Bank call this week or last week, and kind of said Rivian's changing right now. Like, they're they're changing from a pickup truck manufacturer, which is 90-something% of what they've manufactured to this point. They've kind of just trickled out R1Ss. And now they are ramping up their R1S production. It's going to be 75% of what they make. And then also they have the Enduro platform coming out, which will allow them to make a little bit more money on each vehicle, and also sell them for a little bit less. And also they'll get a little bit more range. So kind of win-win-win there. There's a few reasons for this. One is there's actually competition for pickups. The Ford F-150 Lightning is already out competing with the R1T, and pretty soon the Cybertruck's coming out. This week I spent some time at Chevy with the Silverado. That thing has 450 miles of range, which is crazy. So there's competition there, but there's not really competition for the R1S at all. Like, Scout's going to eventually come out with something, which is that VW brand. Kia's got the EV9, which is starting to trickle out, but it's a Kia. It's not going to be quite the off-roader. So really, the R1S is the only game in town, and it's a well done piece of work, and it's now coming in a little less expensive with the dual motor instead of the quad motor. And the quad motor, to be honest, I think is going to be a very niche product. Because you get almost everything you want. The quad motor gives you in a dual motor. Like, look at the speed difference there. It's 0 to 60 at 3.5 seconds for the dual motor, and 3.0 seconds for the quad motor. And I don't even know if you hit 3. It's very close, but so it's almost undiscernible, the difference in speed. But your range goes way up. The CFO said she was getting like 352 miles of range. So that's 25 miles more than the quad motor. Pretty big deal, I think. And then there's things like the rally mode and drift mode that only are available on the quad motor, but I don't think a lot of Rivian's customers are going for that. So that's happening. I also got to check out Rivian's Spaces. They opened one in Manhattan. It's a lovely place. It's similar to the one in Venice if you've ever been there. It looks like a Patagonia store or a Burton store. And it could easily have accessories like tents and camping gear and hiking gear and all that other stuff. Last week we had the exclusive that Rivian pulled in ABRP, a better route planner.
What bike Rivian, is that yours?
Yeah, that's the Luna Eclipse.
Oh,
I wrote it. On the Metro North train line, they only allow you to do foldable bikes, so that's my train bike. But yeah, the space was really nice. They gave us a look before customers came in. They give rides on the West Side Highway, which is like not really Rivian country, but yeah, really nice experience. I think it'll get a lot more people looking at Rivians and, more importantly, driving them. So a lot of things happening at Rivian right now. I think a better route planner is a way to bring new customers in. It's, like free advertising for, Rivian's network. Rivian has said it's going to open its network to all users. And there's going to be a lot more R1Ss on the road coming soon. So my delivery date was supposed to be October to December, and I got word last week that it was happening, and I got word today that I actually can pick up my R1S on Monday. And I've seen online a few other people that were late 2023 that they got the word that their R1Ss are coming. So they're really pushing out those R1Ss. Because right now, if you want an R1T, the pickup, it's like a 2 or 3 day wait, sometimes as much as a week or two. And an R1S is like a year. So they clearly need to bring those, R1Ss down in wait time. And then, obviously the two motor enduro is going to be a big, big difference there. So a lot of things happening at Rivian.
Yes. Keep a close eye on it if you want to know the latest news. We have like Seth that's always on it on Electrek. A Scooter was close to it, also to a Rivian, getting a lot of news. And now we're gonna have an actual Rivian owner on staff. So that's we're gonna be right on top of everything Rivian. We have plenty of other news to discuss today, but if you guys have any question for us, either about what we are discussing on the show today, we are live. You can ask question live in the comment section on YouTube, Facebook, and even I think LinkedIn is working now for comments too. So wherever you're watching live, you can send us a question. We're going to get to it later on the show. It doesn't have to be something that we're discussing today. If you have any other question about other topics in the EV world, you can put them in the comment section right now. We're going to get to it in about 30, 40 minutes. All right, on the Tesla front, it's the end of quarter push, and it's the end of quarter push is a little bit special this quarter because we've been talking about it a lot, but it's the first time that Tesla has been giving discount on new inventory vehicle versus new custom orders. So Tesla is like very focused on like just liquidating inventory vehicles, which is something that they've been doing pretty much every quarter, but never with a discount that's different than from the new orders. So, and it's also not just like free supercharging for however period of time, like the 3 years now that it is for Model S and X, which is not bad. But also direct discount on the vehicle. So it was like $4,000 last week. Now it's $8,000 on some Model S and X vehicle. So you can see now the Model S, the cheapest version in new vehicle with the $8,000 discount, starts at $82,790, which is one of the cheapest Model S we've seen in a long time. I mean, we're getting close to getting back to like Model S 90 back in those days. Like since Tesla had a 100 kilowatt-hour battery pack Model S, it has rarely gone down into these levels. Same discounts also on the Plaid, but the Plaid is obviously a little bit more expensive. So it's one of the cheapest time we've seen the Model S, and also 3 years of free supercharging. And if you buy it with a referral code, that's another $1,300 off. So it goes down to basically close to $80,000 a Model S. So if you're in the market for a Model S or a Model X, because there's the same discounts apply there, they are happening right now. And we've seen there's been some controversy about the number of inventory vehicle. It looks like Model 3 and Y are down pretty significantly, but Model S and X, it's harder to tell right now because Tesla updated the API, and they views like they scramble the VINs so that fewer cars appear, but it still looks like Model 3 and Y are looking good, which is why Model S and X are the one getting the big discounts. All right, this is interesting. Tesla is looking to acquire a wireless charging startup. So you would have told me that like 6 months ago, and I would have a hard time believing you. But we're starting to think that it's very much more likely because of what happened at Investor Day earlier this year when Tesla had this big day where basically all its leadership gave presentation on what they've been doing. And for the charging presentation, at the very end of it, it was a little surprise where Tesla unveiled, teased, they never mention wireless charging, but they teased this image here that looks to involve a charger with a pad at the bottom. So it looks like to be a new wireless home charger that Tesla is looking to deploy. So that was a surprise because Tesla was never much into wireless charging for good reason, because for a long time, now it's getting less so, but for a long time it was a lot less efficient in charging. It's still a little bit less efficient, but not much. And some companies are starting to claim that it is just as efficient, but I don't know what are the specs required to make that happen, because normally you do lose some energy to inductive charging. Anyway, that was the main issue. The second issue is cost. For the most part, it's more expensive than a cable charger, and can be a lot more expensive depending on the situation, because like in this case here, you need to embed a charging pad in the ground. So maybe they found a way to do that inexpensively, but normally it involves like locking it in the ground, either digging into it or bolting into it. So it's not, it has a lot of more work. And then the third thing is all of that is the loss in efficiency, or whether or not it's still happening, up to question, depending on the actual device. And this more expensive not only cost of the hardware, but the installation because of it. Is it worth the problem that you're solving? Because the problem that you're solving is just you don't have to plug in the car. You just park it and go. So you're saving maybe like a few seconds every time you park, because it doesn't take a lot of time for the most part, depending on your charging setup. But I don't know. I don't have the best charging setup at home here, and I would say that it takes me probably like 3 or 4 seconds to plug the car. So obviously, if you do that every day, twice a day, because you unplug it, plug it, it adds up to like probably a few hours of your life overall. So maybe there's some value in it, but not much. Where Tesla sees some value, obviously, is with the self-driving aspect. So if your car is self-driving, and ultimately Tesla's goal is to be not only self-driving, but self-driving sometimes without anyone in the car. So you can just call up your car, and it could come by itself with no one in it. So that means you might need to charge with no one in it. How do you charge with no one in it if you don't have anyone to plug in the car? Tesla's solution for a while appeared to be a robotic arm that would plug in the car. We've seen the famous like snake robot that Tesla had for a while, and Tesla came out with this in like 2016, and we thought it was dead since nothing happened since 2016. But more recently, Elon said, no, it's still in the cards. But Elon says a lot of things too.
Yep.
So but now, since this announcement or this teasing that happened earlier this year, we're like, all right, it looks like Tesla might be looking at wireless instead. Now, bringing it up to this week, what happened is that a report from Germany, from a filing, so it's an official like filing that they submitted, this company called Wiferion, Wiferion, which is based in Freiburg, Germany. So they filed to let their shareholders know that they intend to sell the company, and that Tesla International BV is one of the main interested parties. So it sounds like Tesla is interesting. It hasn't gone through yet, but it looks at least confirmed that Tesla is interested in buying this company. Now, there's a few interesting things about this company. It's a relatively small startup funded in 2016. But it already has deployed 8,000 wireless chargers. However, those chargers are mostly for the industrial robot industry. So it's chargers for like robots in a factory. You can think a little bit. What I can think of is like that probably made also wireless charging very more popular is things like those self-driving lawnmowers and things like that. Like my dad has one. Like it's just some. You don't have a lot of like automatic like robot home charging, inductive charging, but those things are. So it's becoming a little bit more popular. And they do similar things like that, but more for the industrial world. But they also are getting into the EV business. So it would make sense for Tesla to buy that company, since it already has its own business going in a sector that Tesla use, because Tesla use plenty of industrial robots, and then they can leverage that technology for their own wireless chargers. And they're already in production, so Tesla could potentially just send their own, merge their technology with theirs and use their production capacity there. The company has raised about the equivalent of $16 million to date, and the deal is expected to be in the mid to high double-digit million dollars. So let's say like $40 to $100 million, whatever. Interesting. Tesla is not big on acquisition for at least for a company of its size, but it has done a few over the years, including one in Germany, Groman.
So yeah, it was a big one.
Wouldn't be the first time that Tesla, and it's been a successful one too. So it wouldn't be the first time that Tesla has tapped into the engineering talent in Germany. All right, this is a big one for me. Like, this is kind of like sort of my last hope for FSD beta, if you will. This is my last hope. So the Dojo supercomputer is finally coming next month, according to Tesla. So Tesla has created yet another Twitter account. So since Elon took over Twitter, Tesla has created 5 new official Twitter accounts for different division of the company, including now Tesla AI. And they went on a little tweeting spree this week. And in the tweeting spree, there was this chart that they shared about the compute power that they have to train their neural network that is powering the self-driving effort. And in it, they shared a timeline of July 2023, so that's next month, the start of Dojo production. So if you haven't been following the Dojo program, it's Tesla's own built from the ground up supercomputer. It was first unveiled at Tesla AI Day back in 2021, so that was 2 years ago. But back then, Tesla only had the chip. The chip and a tile. So they had the chip and a tile, but they were still far from having the actual supercomputer. Last year, Tesla unveiled their system tray. So like a supercomputer looks like this, and then you have the system trays in there, and they had one tray done. And that's it. That's not a full, this is a cluster, or they call it an hexapod, but normally it's like a cluster, supercomputer cluster that's called. They didn't have that yet. They said that they're going to have their first one in Q1 2023. Q1 2023 came and passed. But now with this new timeline, it sounds like it's going into production as soon as next month. And then they're going to ramping up, so build out the clusters over time, adding power to it. And by January 2024, they think they're already going to be in the top 5 on the entire world in total compute capacity. And then, as you can see, ramp up really fast to 100 exaflops by the end of next year. So very impressive stuff. Now, why did I say this is my last hope? So for people like me who have not been really impressed by the rate of improvement of FSD beta, and we know that's been one of my biggest concerns as a FSD beta owner, where Elon has kept saying, look at the pace of improvement of FSD beta and everything. And I have it for a year and a half of them, maybe not a year and a half, but over a year at this point. And I've seen very little improvement. I've seen some improvement, to be fair, but for a year, it wasn't a big improvement to me, and especially the way that Tesla was framing the rate of improvement. Now, some of the Tesla fans that have been agreeing with me on that front, one thing that they've been pushing is this idea, okay, it's because they don't have Dojo, they don't have the compute power to handle all this data coming from the fleet. And that's true that there's a lot of data coming from the fleet, more than any other automaker out there, because Tesla has had millions of vehicles on the road at this point that they're equipped with all the sensors feeding the data to Tesla. And it's a lot of potential for good data to train the neural nets on, but you need a lot of compute power to sort through the data and feed your neural nets. So they've been saying Dojo is going to be the difference maker. Tesla hasn't said exactly as much, but they've been hinting that, yeah, it's going to be a big step change. So yeah, it's my hope that, okay, now that they're going to have that, we're going to see a more impressive rate of improvement. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen. I'm saying that's my last hope of what could happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, just having raw compute power doesn't necessarily get you to full self-driving, but obviously it doesn't hurt.
Yeah. I mean, if Elon is serious about a end of the year full autonomy, so what does he need to make that happen? It's there cannot be a list that long of things that would be on top of mind, I think. again, let's see if he's serious about this, if it's going to be true. Like, hasn't been the case before, multiple times. All right. Model 3 refresh, a little rumors going on. Take everything I'm going to list here as a grain of salt because we don't have any proof to it. This is coming from Tesla.co, which is a companion app for Tesla, and they do have like good access to Tesla software and everything. But in this case, they seem to be more doing like a traditional like journalism job, like just talking to internal sources. But I don't know how serious we can take this, as they've been wrong in the past, and the report is not something that I like. The way they framed it, like it's not something that I would post myself, like, because they're like, oh, this is happening for sure, and then, oh, this we don't know for sure. Like, yeah, like if you're basing these on like the same like internal sources, like, there's some, I don't like it when there's wiggle room to the information. Like, it's either it's happening or it's not, or at least it doesn't need to be always happening, but at least like Tesla is working on this for that, like the things that are clear. Anyway, the biggest news would be steer-by-wire. They claim that there's going to be steer-by-wire in the new Model 3. So we just talked about that last week. We uncovered this patent that Tesla has filed for it. But what we've been hearing is like Cybertruck would be the first one. Now, this is not completely impossible because Cybertruck is almost ready. So if Cybertruck is almost ready, getting into production, that means the steer-by-wire is ready, and they could do the same with the Model 3. And some others have opened the doors too for steer-by-wires. Now, like the Toyota is steer-by-wire to a degree. They do have redundancy and mechanical redundancy, but a lot of people are going that way. So Tesla is apparently doing the same. Now, what else is new? The matrix LEDs light that we've been seeing on the Model S and X are making it to the new Model 3 apparently. So that's not impossible too. I think they've been trying to hide the headlights and tail lights on the prototypes that we've seen. RGB ambient lights, game-changing technology here. Apparently coming to Model 3. I'm joking, but it would still be cool. Like, especially if you have control over them. Like, it's like you can do your own little ambience in the car with different colors. That would be nice. What else? Apparently, beyond what we've seen, obviously we expected the new Model 3 to have hardware 4. It's the last Tesla vehicle to get it. But Tesla Scope claims there's going to be a little bit more to it. There's going to have a bumper camera. So we'll see. And the new front-facing camera too. So the current hardware 4 system that we've seen, the front cameras as a dummy one. So there might be room to add another one. So maybe the Model 3 is going to be the first to have it. We're not clear about that. We think we're going to learn a lot more about the hardware 4 suite of system once the Model 3 comes out, because Tesla has been very quiet about it, supposedly because they don't want to affect Model 3 sales by talking about, hey, we have this new technology that's all other cars except this one. The Osborne effect, they call it. So, but then they talked also about things like the price and the launch, and they say like it could be next month or it could be in 6 months. Like, it's so things like that remove some credibility to the report. Like they don't exist. Like, feels like if they knew all that, they probably would know that too, but they don't. They said they don't.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
I would say 20% chance of being correct.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things in there that make
some of this
sense.
stuff is guessing. Yeah.
No, but they say it's not guessing. I wouldn't have posted that if they claim it's just a guesswork. But they said to have talked to like I think a dozen internal employees, which sounds a bit much to me. But
yeah,
I mean, I've been doing this for 8 years. I don't think I had 12 sources within Tesla.
Yeah, and so a lot of that stuff could come true because we've talked like the matrix lights. Obviously, it could come true, but I just don't think that this stuff makes sense in the whole. So I think it's unlikely.
Yeah, especially like the steer-by-wire, like the timing would make sense with Cybertruck and everything. But do you want to release that in Model 3 and not Model Y?
Exactly.
Like there's a few things like that just give me pause.
Right.
All right, Cybertruck made its way to New Zealand for its final winter testing. So that's cool. Did we talk about that last week? I don't know. It came out the 18. No,
I feel like it was on the, like we had a picture on the plane or something last week.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, we didn't. I don't know why that sneak in there. But anyway, final testing for the Cybertruck in New Zealand. Another step closer to production. Then Tesla has updated us, gave us an update that we can get some information out of, but it's not perfect, of production of the 4680 cell in Giga Texas. So we've talked a lot about the Fremont pilot plant. That's not really a pilot plant in terms of volume, at least. But the real big volume is going to come from Gigafactory Texas, and it's expected to be very important for Cybertruck production and, of course, the new Model Y and future vehicle programs. Tesla needs Gigafactory Texas to produce cells in large volumes. What they did this week is they confirmed that they produced the 10th million 4680 cells at Giga Texas. Now, that's all the cells produced to date, which is not perfect information because you want the current production rate. So that we cannot try to get the production rate from that, because I think Tesla just, they announced the first million and then the 10 million. So there's too much time between. Like, they could be producing cell 1 million a week, or it could be producing nothing. Because 10 million cells, I did the math somewhere. So 10 million cells is good enough for producing 12,000 Model Ys. So obviously Tesla has produced more than 12,000 Model Ys at Gigafactory Texas to date, but they've been compensating with the Fremont factory production too. So, Fremont battery cell factory, not the Fremont vehicle factory. But it's a good sign at 10 million. I would assume that now they have a pretty decent production rate that should cover maybe like a few thousand Model Y a week. Obviously, the rest is being produced with 2170 cells. But we've been hoping that the mix is going to improve over time, and the 4660 cells solidify itself as like Tesla's main cell, which is still far from the case. But Tesla's working towards that.
Are they still building 4680s in Fremont or at the Gigafactory in Nevada? I know they originally, like kind of the prototype build was there, but they're not producing those for actual vehicles, are they?
No. I think the 4680 cells in Fremont are still in production, because, like we said, it's a pilot factory, but it's a pretty like significant pilot factory. So there's different volume coming out of that. Giga Nevada, though, I don't think it's in production yet, because the expansion haven't even taken place. Like that's a weird one that I'm keeping an eye on every now and again to see when the actual expansion is going to start, because it was announced like 4 or 5 months ago at this point, and they still haven't like broken ground on the actual expansion. So. And that's going to be a big deal, obviously, for 4680 and eventually Tesla Semi production. All right, the list of the most American-made cars have been released by cars.com. So they have this American-made index that they post every year, where they try to look into all of the vehicle programs that are produced in the U.S., and they try to figure out which one of the most American-made based on the number of parts that are made locally versus imported. And Tesla has been for a few years at the top of that list, but to a brand new degree this year, with the first top four vehicles on the list are all Tesla vehicles, Model Y being at the top. So the latest Tesla vehicle is the most produced, and it makes sense because Tesla has been increasingly vertically integrating and producing more of its own parts. So the latest model being the top makes a lot of sense. Then another few interesting things out of this. First of all, it's the only American automaker in the top 10. There's basically only 2 other automakers on there, Honda and Volkswagen, because also Acura, but Acura is Honda, so basically the same thing. So Honda has also 4 spots in the top 10, all after Tesla though, and Volkswagen is in there, and encouraging, Volkswagen is in there with the ID4, so it's another electric vehicle in there. So that's an interesting point, the American thing. But the other interesting thing is that out of the top 10 vehicle, even though 8 or 10% EV adoption now in the US, 5 of them are American made. So it does seem to be an opportunity. This transition to electric vehicles seems to be an opportunity to focus on local production. And obviously the IRA has been very impactful on there, and this impact, I think we're not even feeling it. We're feeling it in terms of investments right now, but in terms of actual like foot on the ground and production is like the investment are just too recent to fill that. So I think over time, we're gonna see that a lot. Like we're gonna see a lot more of that. So it's an opportunity. Like so, some automakers are seeing it as a problem, others are seeing it as an opportunity. All right, the Escalade IQ. So this is going to be the next big EV from Cadillac, which in itself is becoming the EV brand at GM. And this is going to be obviously one of the most popular. The Escalade is the most popular Cadillac, I would assume.
Yep.
Yeah. And they released a little teaser ahead of the launch in August. And let me just calm down here. So very short teaser, but we do get a few glimpses like this one here, this one. And then we get the front end right here. And the glass roof. Here, front end of the car. Built in Detroit, unveiled in New York, they say. So obviously it's a big deal. Like I just said, it's the biggest vehicle program from Cadillac. Hit going electric is gonna add to probably a little bit more volume to it, because right now with the Lyric and the Celestiq, we're not seeing any significant volume for Cadillac. So even though GM is like pushing the brand as their EV brand, thermal volume, we're just not seeing that just yet. So hopefully the Cadillac gonna be it. But did you get to see it at the big GM event where they had like very early prototypes?
Yeah, so I did. It was a clay model, and I heard, well, that thing was huge. Like it was one of those things where it was kind of like, it felt like a semi. But my understanding is, and the look at this, it actually does not look as big as the current Escalade. So I don't know. I don't know if what we saw was an Escalade or something else. I mean, they just show us this big Cadillac thing. I mean, it had like 33-inch tires. It was just the biggest thing you've ever seen in your life. So this doesn't look like that.
I don't know. Yeah, it's gonna be a bit more refined, like especially the wheels and tires. It's always like overblown on prototypes versus the actual production version. So yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be a little bit toned down. But yeah, there's an opportunity here for GM to be very efficient in the way they build things, because obviously you have the Silverado electric and that is taking some learnings from the Hummer EV, and I would assume that the Escalade is going to be similar to that, going to take learnings from the Silverado, because they do have a pickup. Do they still do a pickup version of the Escalade in gas?
Nope.
No, they don't? You think they're going to do it for that?
I doubt it. They kind of, GMC is kind of the pickup, the high.
But either way, they're gonna probably use the same powertrain and everything. So it's gonna be like you're gonna see similar specs as this one, just maybe not a similar price and a little bit more luxurious, because it is a Cadillac after all. All right, one more quick piece of news to discuss, and then we're gonna jump into the comment section. So I already see a lot of comments, so we're gonna get you all to jump into that. We're gonna have plenty of time to discuss it since we are not even 40 minutes into the show. So guys, if any question, put them in there right now. We're gonna get to it.
And if we have some extra time, we need to discuss Musk versus Zuck.
Yeah. You guys don't want to get me going on that, because that thing has been living rent-free in my head. It's like my two favorite worlds colliding. Like, well, I mean, not exactly. Like MMA is definitely my favorite world, and then the EV world, I don't know. Like Elon is on top of the EV world, but he's not the EV world itself. So I don't know. Yeah, we're talking about the Zuckerberg versus Musk potential MMA match. All right, the last news is the Kia begins delivery of the flagship EV9 electric SUV. So we just discussed the EV9. It's going to be like the biggest, probably biggest competitor to what we just discussed too, the Escalade and the Rivian R1S, but a little bit less expensive. And so we. Okay, it's in South Korea. I thought it was the U.S. deliveries. Oh no, it's the South Korea. Okay, so it just started delivering in South Korea, and obviously we discussed the spec before. We're really impressed by it. 100 kilowatt battery pack, go up to 300 miles of range, 5,000 pounds of towing. You have a third row in there. It looks like they have a killer product on their hand here. It's going to be very popular, more here than in South Korea probably. But do we have the timing on the deliveries here?
I don't think they gave
it. Yeah, expected to go in the fourth quarter of this year. So yeah, it's going to be another 3 months at least. But it is coming to the US, would be assembled in Georgia. So it's going to take advantage of that Sweet tax credit. All right, let's jump into the comments.
All right. Popping in there, Stefan Froyker, good that NACS will not make it to the EU as only one phase and not three phase as we use here. So yeah, that the NACS is kind of just the hardware, like the connection. I think you could make a three phase NACS connector if you wanted to. I don't think Tesla will do that because there's no reason to in the US. We do have three phase, but it's only for very high power.
Mm-hmm.
So doubtful. All right, Dan DeYoung, what do you think are the most difficult things that FSD will have to solve before robotaxis will work? Assuming it can be solved, how long do you think that'll take? I'll leave that to you.
I mean, Ashok, like Tesla's head of Autopilot software, had an interesting comment this week where he said that his secret goal is to make FSD work in India, which is well known for
chaos.
Chaos on the roads, like traffic lights or suggestion if they are even there. And I mean, you can just Google like crazy traffic in India, and you'll get your anxiety going pretty quickly just from watching it. So that, I mean, that's an interesting thing. More like, at one point, do you need to be able? So, and is point? So I don't know where this is coming from at Tesla. I would assume it's Elon, but his idea was like, if we can solve for this Indian madness on the auto market, we have achieved AGI, like artificial general intelligence, which I'm not disputing, because yes, even because I am a human who's been driving for more than a decade, and I would be stressed out of my mind if I would be in the driving situation. And maybe I could see myself, like, if I'm being honest with myself, I can see myself like just not being able to handle it all. Like, just like, this is too stressful, too complicated and everything. So if you can get neural nets to handle that, like, it's getting to a level of comprehension and perspective that is extremely impressive. I don't know if it actually counts at AGI, but it's getting close to it for sure. Now, you don't necessarily need that to achieve a robotaxi, a useful robotaxi service, but that's going to be so if we focus on that specifically, what needs to be achieved, that was the question. What needs to be solved? Well, I mean, you need things that don't exist yet in Tesla, like just like things like, I'm thinking of the word in French right now, but when you have those craters on the road, they need pull in French.
Potholes?
Potholes, jeez. Like, you need to be able to detect and avoid potholes. Like, that's probably one of the biggest concerns I have with Autopilot right now, is like when it would drive like straight over one, and it's like, this is just, some of them I understand everything, but others can be dangerous. Like, I know it can be dangerous to avoid them too. So that's one of the things that's difficult for a robot. You know, it's the trolley question and whatnot too. So there's things like that need to be avoided. Obviously, if we were just talking in the Electrek newsroom about the ODAO series of tests, like the Dawn project series of tests of like running over fake children all the time. Like, obviously, this is something that needs to be solved too. At this point, it almost feels like Tesla is not fixing it to
mess with him.
To mess with him at this point. Like, obviously, this is one that's probably easier to fix. But I mean, obviously the biggest thing right now is like, when you're using FSD beta, just make sure to be careful and on the wheels the whole time, be ready to take control, because those things are a problem right now. There's no doubt about it, but it's not a full driving system despite the name. That's it. Yeah, like I said, I don't have a ton of hope right now about reaching that robotaxi level based on what I'm driving right now in FSD beta. It's just, I see too many gaps. Maybe Dojo's the solution. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. How do you say pothole in French? Is it nid de poule?
Yeah, nid poule. Which is like the nest of a chicken. That's the direct translation.
That's awesome. Awesome. I love it. All right, question. A lot of companies have said they either considering going to NACS. Any word on Fisker since they're made in Europe? Does that make NACS harder?
Not harder. They have production intended for North America already, production intended for Europe, and they both use different chargers. So you would just switch the one that you do for North America to NACS. So it's not difficult at all. They just need to. Honestly, right now, I think that a lot of the fact that it's the adoption is relatively slow. Like, what was it, like 2 weeks between Ford and GM, then another week or two between GM and Rivian? It's probably because they have to go through Tesla. So I actually talked to Tesla last week about it, because they have some people that have been reaching out to me, some smaller like EV makers that are like, hey, well, we want to get involved in that too. Do you know who we talk to? And I actually was able to get the name of the person involved, so I've been sending that to people, and hopefully they get going. But I would assume like there's like discussion between all of those automakers and Tesla, so and then that's all the same people at Tesla, so there's probably some kind of bottleneck right now for Tesla to go through all these automakers one by one and get them approved. So I'm sure Fisker is going to get on board at some point. Though there is some bad blood between Fiskers and like Henrik Fiskers and Elon Musk. So, but I just think that with the way that Tesla is framing NACS, like it is an open standard, it's for everyone. It would look bad to put like sticks in the wheels of Fiskers and going NACS because of that. So they had Tesla kind of get over that.
Yeah, I mean, Elon and Mary Barra aren't like best of friends.
Yeah, but there's not like personal. It's not like, for those people that don't know, like I don't know all the facts. Like I'm just gonna give you like Tesla's side of things on this, like or Elon's side of things. That he claims that he hired Henrik Fisker to design the original Model S, and that Fisker showed him a bunch of design that were bad, and he actually used that contract to design the Karma. And then he went, after this contract was over with Tesla, he didn't show the Fisker Karma design to Tesla, and he just started a company to build the Fisker Karma instead. And then Tesla hired Franz van Halsens, and he designed the actual Model S. So they ended up suing Fisker over that, but I don't think they won the lawsuit. So not winning a lawsuit doesn't mean that Tesla wasn't wrong either, but I don't know what happened. Like, he just probably respected the contract. The contract didn't prevent him from doing that, or maybe he didn't do that. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's other companies like Lucid have already said that they're taking a wait and see for now. So
yeah, Hyundai is the same too.
Bad blood there. Yeah. Yep. All right, Joe Sapp, question. Could you see Tesla using the wireless charging to charge cars out of production? The cars drive off the production line, charge themselves, and then drive onto a car carrier. Joel, you're not thinking big enough here. Like, if there's wireless charging, they don't need a car carrier. They just drive themselves all the way across country to wherever they need to go.
And then you get your car, and it already has 3,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's literally something that Elon has mentioned in the past. That's literally something that Elon has mentioned. No, I still think it would be more efficient to just send it on like trains and things like that, like to get a bunch of the distance covered, and then maybe you do the final few miles like that. But obviously, we're so far away from that. Right. I think we're so far away. If you're Elon Musk, you think you're months away by the end of the year, but you also think that you can do a compelling MMA fights at the same time.
Speaking of Fisker, Fisker did another delivery event, 360 miles EPA. Still think they are fake.
Did we ever say that they're fake? No. I mean, we already said they were going to deliver it in the U.S. I don't know for how long they're going to last, though, because financially speaking, it doesn't look good. But I wish them luck. I wish them that it works out.
More EVs, the better. Yeah. And we've always said Fisker's designs are great. Just the businesses are a little shaky.
Yeah. I mean, the designs, I've been a big fan of like the Fisker Karma. It looks good. The Ocean, I'm kind of indifferent about it. Like, it's not bad looking for me. It's not good looking, but I can see the appeal for some people. Well, I think the specs and pricing were always more of a more interesting thing about the Ocean than the design itself.
Yeah. All right. Question: what would you do if you had a 2020 Bolt? We just got ours used and we're bummed about the software patch. Can you clarify if the lower limit at 70 miles remains? So Chevy had this old software patch where it wouldn't let you go below 70 miles of range and above 80% range, which was kind of crappy. But I think the new one lets you go down to 0 again. And that's only for 6,000 miles or 10,000 miles, I think. And once that's over, they open it wide open or they give you a new battery pack. So it's not great. It's kind of a crappy situation. I think they could have done a lot better job there, but this kind of is what it is. I'm assuming here, obviously, that you didn't already get the new battery pack. There was some news last week where Chevrolet said, we're not replacing the 2020 Bolt battery packs anymore unless you run the software for 10,000 miles and it says you need a replacement. So that was upsetting to a lot of people, and I get it. So moving on, Nico D, make a poll for chat to see who would buy a Cybertruck. I think Tesla made a poll and there's like 1 million people who said,
I don't know how much value there is in that. We're gonna do one for reservation holders once the new specs and pricing are released. That would be more interesting. So how many people change their mind once we have the actual production specs and pricing, which we know is going to be vastly different from the originally announced 2019 ones.
All right, question. Does Model Y buyer know if they're getting a 4680 or 2170 cells in their car? I got confused when you described what's coming out of Austin. The 2680 chemistry confirmed, and what is it?
Well, it's the it's not. It's standard range is not the word, but the base all-wheel drive one is the one with 4680 cells. That's our understanding. So all the other ones are 2170. So if you're buying this one, you should get the 4680. So you can get one from Texas, one or the other, but in terms of the standard range, the standard range is not the right word. It's just like the base all-wheel drive is the one with the 4680. That's our understanding.
All right. Moving on. Carl in San Diego continues. Escalade is a regrettable model in terms of ICE, making GM criminals in the bigification, new word, of vehicles for no good reason. Why is it okay for Hummer and Escalade again?
Well, if
I kind of
electric.
agree. Yeah, I mean, electric, they're replacing huge ICE vehicles. I get your point. Like, you could make 3 or 4 bolts for every Hummer that comes off the line in terms of batteries and weight and just like car. But the other side is that people are buying these vehicles for whatever reason.
Yeah,
so it's better.
Yeah, it's definitely better. My point, like, I understand. Like, if you're buying a Hummer EV in Virginia and like you're powering with coal, like, you're not. It's better than having a gas and power or diesel, or the Hummer diesel or gas, I don't know. But whatever, like the highest Hummers, it's gonna be better than that, but it's still bad. Like, obviously, you would need like a more efficient EV. That said, if you're buying a Hummer EV and driving it in Quebec, for example, where you're powering completely with a hydroelectricity, then it's not that bad. The only thing that's worse, that makes it worse than a smaller car, is the actual production capacity of it, like the battery and all the materials that go into making a bigger car. So that's not that big of a deal, because over the lifetime of the car, it's minimal compared to the consumption. So in this case, hydroelectricity versus gasoline or diesel. Again, I don't know which one it is for the Hummer. And so that comes back, instead of like, all right, so the question is more about the buyers. Why are they going towards that? And whatever the reason is, like, changing those reasons to convince those people to buy a Bolt instead, I feel like that's harder than making a compelling electric Hummer or electric Escalade. So for the environment, I think it's better to like have Cadillac make those than trying to have some kind of societal change where it's cool to have. We can try, and we've been trying in electric. I mean, if you've been reading electric, like half our articles are about like micro mobility and all that, and we are all on board with that. You see this electric bike out there. Like whenever I can, I'll take that instead of taking my car. And I have electric cars that drive on hydroelectricity. So we're all on board on that. But we're also not like kidding ourselves that we're not the norm, and we don't want also to what's the word? Patronizing people that like we don't want to shame people that don't do it too.
Right.
Like it's not a good way to approach things like that. So I think like having a technical solution that take care of vast majority of the problem is a better approach than everything else.
All right, a few more questions, then we're going to talk Zuck and Musk in the ring, in the octagon. Question: which will come first, a Tesla HVAC or a Level 4 FSD? Wild speculation. I'm going to say HVAC. Little heat pump for the.
I think it's going to be a close race, maybe, because I don't see the HVAC coming in the next 2 years. I think 3 years.
Yeah.
So maybe Level 4 is not completely unachievable.
Right. You have to solve deadheading to make robotaxi sensible. Transportation experts understood this a long time before Elon.
Okay, so that's an opportunity to learn here. What's deadheading?
I think it just means like idiots driving.
Oh yeah, I mean you have to dumb-proof everything these days.
Yeah. Do you expect or hope that Teslas will be able to detect each other on the road to improve safely and expedite FSD?
Well, that actually goes against Tesla's entire approach. So Tesla wants to replace a human driver. Like they are taking like a human approach to it, like with vision and neural nets. So eyes and brains, what we use to drive our cars today. And your eyes and brains don't really have that much opportunity to communicate with other people outside of your car. So there's the honking. So yes, there's going to be an aspect of automatic honking on a car and everything. There's some high contact, and like you can wave like at the stop. If you are at the stop sign at the same time, it is good practice to just tell someone like go ahead and all that. There is companies that have been working on like a way for cars to communicate like that with a human, not necessarily with another car. But now a car to car, like it would be smart at some point, but that's not Tesla's approach, it sounds like.
All right. What do we think about NIO? They just presented the ET5 Touring and the L6. Looks like well designed and built. Only worry China. Is it too dangerous buying a Chinese car, state controlled, etc.?
I mean, from everything I've seen from NIO, it looks pretty good. I've never been in one myself. I would love to, because like I'm trusting what's been reporting from China right now, and everything looks like great cars. I wanted to get in one and confirm that myself before having a serious opinion on this.
They're in Norway and stuff. So
yeah. Maybe there I could check it out. I haven't been in China, but yeah. As for the state control thing, I mean, there's a lot of those now. Like you have to deal with that when you buy from China. Like, it's just
all right. Clarification on deadheading: it's the empty half of a trip to get to you. So, like if you drive to the airport and pick somebody up, the drive to the airport is the deadheading.
But why would that be a problem? Self-driving have versus current, like.
It's just extra distance, I guess. But I guess also like a taxi driver actually has to be in the car, and that's not a useful bit of time. Anyway, that's the last question. Let's head right into Elon versus Zuck in the octagon. Fred with the analysis. We're going to cap it at like 5 minutes.
All right.
Obviously, Zuck is smaller, but he's got some training. Elon, bigger, got the walrus move. What do you got?
So this has been living rent-free in my head for all week. I've been thinking about this way too much, because if you guys don't know, like I know you guys know me more as an EV guy, but one of my other passion is martial arts, and including MMA, and I've been delving into that world for years now. So like this is sort of my two worlds colliding here, and I've been thinking about this way too much, because in my view, first of all, I thought at first it was completely a joke, like because. All right, Elon says that on Twitter. Okay, he says a lot of stupid things on Twitter, so it's just another joke he says on Twitter. And then Zuck responds on Instagram, of course, because that's another weird aspect of this whole thing where Elon is talking on Twitter and responding on Twitter, but responding from Instagram posts from Zuck, because Zuck is only on Instagram and Facebook and not on Twitter. And well, I mean, he has a Twitter account, but he doesn't use it anymore since Elon bought it. Anyway, it's this rivalry of social media CEO, whatever. It's nonsense. But what Zuck responded, it was to a screenshot of that message of like, let's do an MMA fight. And he responded with, send me location. And then all the media went nuts. It's like, oh, they are agreeing to an MMA fight. I took it as a joke because send me location is a famous phrase that Khabib Nurmagomedov said about Conor McGregor when Conor attacked the bus full of fighters in New York a few years ago. And because thinking that Khabib was in the bus, and Khabib responded to McGregor is like, you don't have to attack the bus, just send me location, I'm going to show up and we're going to fight. So he was using that as a joke. I'm not even sure that Zuck was serious at that point. But then Elon responded Octagon Las Vegas, and so he either didn't get the joke or he's really serious about this. But then adding to everything, that now confirming that they are actually serious about this, is Dana White, the promoter of the UFC, saying that he talked to both of them and both of them are serious about it. And he's looking to make this happen and make it a $100 pay-per-view for charity. So now I'm conflicted because I think it's the dumbest idea ever. But at the same time, it could make a few, probably like 2 or 3 million buys, maybe even more.
Yeah,
at $100, it's a lot of money for charity.
It's way better. It's way better than those silly YouTubers.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. No, it's not. It's not going to be a better fight. So okay, so
but it's going to be more entertaining.
I don't know if it's going to be. So that's the
not
whole
for
thing.
you because you like good UFC fighting, but for me, like I just want to watch two old people like punch each other.
I don't know if you really know what it's going to look like, though. So
it's going to look bad. I know it's going to look bad.
It's going to look so bad.
I mean, Musk is 51. I'm 50 or almost 50. Like I know I was in a lot better shape when I was in 39.
Yeah, but and even then, you're on the Peloton every day and all that. Like from what I'm hearing from Elon Musk, and that's from his own words. Like he lost a bunch of weight recently, so that's good for him. But he'd say that he lost the weight with some anti-hunger medication and fasting. That I'm a big fan of fasting. I fast all the time. And it's good for you. It doesn't give you good cardio or anything like that. Like you have to do exercise to get good cardio. And fighting is one of the most cardio extensive sports out there. Like let's say it's like a 3 5-minute rounds. By minute 2 or 3, depending on how thing goes, Elon's gonna be dead. It's going to be dead, and it's going to be so bad to watch. So the way I'm thinking about this is like from Elon's perspective. Also, let's remember that Zuckerberg trains MMA at least a little, and I've seen some footage of him like play sparring and hitting the pads. He doesn't look bad. It looks like he has some like decent technique. Like if maybe he's been training for like a few years or a year somewhat extensively, and he's doing jiu-jitsu. He's done a competition in the Bay Area, won the competition as a white belt, so he's not super advanced. But from what I've seen, he knows like the basics. He got good basics, and that puts you like way ahead. Like forget the Elon weight advantage. It's gonna do nothing against Zuck unless he has like 6 months of training or something like that. But you have to keep in mind that the 6 months of training, Zuck used that to keep getting better. Like Elon comes from basically nothing to that. It's going to be bad. So there's 2 scenarios that I would see this play out. One, Zuck just walks through Elon super quickly and Elon just like looks like bad, like and everything. Okay. So that's not great for Elon. And 2 is that we just get a terrible fight because both of them are not used to fighting, especially not on like big lights and all that and everything happening and being on a big stage. It's so unnerving, especially like if you do it like a real MMA fights or amateur level with shin pads and maybe headgear. I don't know how they're going to do it, but like getting into your underwear and getting into a cage to fight someone is a surreal experience that most people don't want to get into for good reasons. And I don't think he's thinking about that at all. Like, so the only way it makes sense for me from Elon's perspective is that he's going like full, like, it's a simulation. It's all a joke anyway. Let's be a clown and like make fun of the entire situation. and make some money for charity at the same time. If he's thinking like that, like I'm all for it. But if he's thinking in any way that this is gonna be like the battle of the social media titan, and you meet in the cage and they're gonna give like a good fight for the fan, there's zero chance of that happening. Maybe Zuckerberg looks good a little bit and like get Elon into a rear naked choke and get him out of there, and like that would be like the best situation possible for both of them, by the way. Like that would look okay. But I think the most likely situation is that the fight is just sloppy as hell, because they're both not used to this at all, especially Elon. And I sent to Elon this fight on Twitter that I said you should look at this. It's the Dada 5000 versus Kimbo Slice fight. Some of you might be familiar with Kimbo Slice because he was famous at one point from street fighting on YouTube. He's since unfortunately passed. And Kimbo Slice at that point, before that fight, had a few fights already. A few real MMA fights. I mean, not just like street fighting. He was in somewhat good shape, visibly. Obviously, not great cardio, and you can watch the fight for that. Same for Dada 5000. But these are guys that I would put like way above Elon and Zuckerberg's level of fitness and fight readiness, let's say. And they delivered one of the worst looking fight of all time. Just terrible to watch. Just a complete farce of a fight. So if you're Elon and even Zuckerberg to a degree, I would ask yourself sincerely, like, do I think I can do better than these two? And if not, which should be not if you're looking without bias at your own capabilities in terms of fighting, you should ask yourself then, do I want to deliver something that looks even worse than this Dada 5000 versus Kimbo Slice fight? And I hope that the answer is no. Unless you're just like, I don't give a. That was good. I don't give a hell about what this looks like. It's all about like, let's have fun and let's make some money for charity. That I'm okay with. But if you think that it's gonna be like a fight that's gonna be good for the sport of MMA, you can forget about that. I mean, I'm thinking about things like CM Punk. Like, did you remember when CM Punk went into the UFC for 2 fights? No. It was horrible to watch. And CM Punk is a trained athlete. He's an actual athlete. He's a trained athlete. And he had like a few years of BJJ and striking before that fight. And it looked horrible. Obviously, he was fighting guys like Mickey Gall and what was the other guy? Johnson, I think. That weren't necessarily bad. So that makes it worse. But do you think you can, like Elon, do you think you're better than CM Punk at this? Like, think about it.
So I agree. I think, but this also, like, the bigger thing is, like, you know how you would think somebody's telling Elon, hey, dude, no, don't do it. Don't stop. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have that person in his life.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's sad.
That goes across everything, but like in particular this.
Yeah, I've seen Lex Friedman like go all in for. I love Lex Friedman. I'm like this. Like he said the BJJ fight at first. Like I thought that was smart of Lex. All right, let's get them to do a BJJ fight. Zuck's gonna walk through Elon, but at least it's not gonna look as bad as like 2 grown men exhausted on their feet throwing punches like that. So it's not gonna look as bad. But then Elon said MMA. Lex was like, oh, that's even better. I'm like, Lex, come on, you know this. Lex is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's a serious martial art practitioner. He knows this is going to be ridiculous. Like, why do we want that out there? Again, unless you're approaching this whole thing as clowns, like, let's just be clown. We're not there to entertain. We're all laughing together at us. It's all just a joke and we make some money for charity. That's great. But I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's that. I think it's just 2 grown men that are a bit delusional about what it takes to do an MMA fight. If anything, it could be good for the sport in terms of like this what people think they can do it, but like what's actually happening is different.
When Justin Trudeau fought boxing, is this
good? That was stupid too, but actually Trudeau he had some boxing experience before that, and it wasn't a good boxing fight. No, it was not a good box, but it wasn't awful either. Also, right. but boxing is a bit different, where like you have two weapons, and it's just your. I mean, the footwork, it takes a lot to learn and everything, but they both of these guys, like, it was with a senator at the time, or was soon to be senator, and both of them had some boxing experience. So it wasn't that awful of a fight. It wasn't great either, but Elon does, as far as we know, has nothing, and Zuck has some. It's not gonna be good. There's just no way around it, especially for something that's gonna be such a big fight. Like Dana White, who's the number one martial art promoter in the world, say it's going to be the biggest fight ever. So if he says that, I believe him, because he has more experience than anyone in promoting fights. But Dana looks bad there, because Dana has always been about, like, especially since the CM Punk thing. CM Punk, sorry, is like, I don't want to do those fights. I don't want to be doing like those, like, force of a fight. I want to be doing the best versus the best. Well, Elon Musk and Zuckerberg are not the best versus the best. They're the best, maybe billionaires, but they're not the best fighters out there. All right. Well, I think I've rant on it. I mean, if we're doing this, like, then I want to take, like, if it becomes the norm, I want to be the next one. I'll take the next biggest EV journalist out there. I'll challenge them to a cage match. So let's do it.
Nice.
All right. Thanks a lot, everyone, for listening to the show this week. If you're still listening, I appreciate you. If you do enjoy the show, please give us a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe. It helps the show a lot, and it's free to do. It takes a second. If you're listening on a podcast app right now, on Spotify, Apple, whatever it is, if you can give us a 5-star review, that helps the show a lot. Only if you like the show, obviously. And it takes a second to do, free to do, and it helps the show a ton. So we appreciate every single one of you, and we're going to see you same place,